Built for business. Waiting. No one enjoys it. With Comcast Business, you can do less of it. Because Comcast Business Internet is up to 5 times faster than DSL from the phone company, which means less waiting for things like security backups and file downloads. Plus, it's a better value when you select the fastest plan. So do what nearly 1,000 businesses do every day and choose Comcast Business. Unless you'd prefer to wait. Switch to Comcast Business Internet. Then add 1 voice line and TV for just $34.90 a month for 2 years. And ask about their low price guarantee. Call 800-501-6000 or visit ComcastBusiness.com. That's 800-501-6000. Comcast Business. Built for business.
Offer ends 3/31/15. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees, including broadcast TV fee extra. Compares Comcast 100 megabits per second and 20 megabits per second DSL downloads.
Guardians, crystal keepers, gem lovers, and rock hounds. Welcome to There's a Rock for That. This is the show that is all about crystals, gems, and rocks of all varieties, where we will explore the folklore, metaphysical properties, and healing applications of the stone people. I'm Dactyl, and I welcome you all. Whether you're here to connect with the Crystal Kingdom or discover what your rocks are about, or even sail the mystic seas to the land of dragons where fairies greet us and unicorns gallop through magical forests to sacred stone temples, I'm so happy that you are here to share the experience. I am so thrilled today. I think it's going to be a very, very fun and interesting and really exciting show today. Our guest on today's show is the one and only Diana Cooper. She is the author of several different books and CDs. She teaches seminars all over the world. And she is the principal, as you might guess, behind the Diana Cooper School, and that is a not-for-profit organization which actually provides certificate training in certified spiritual courses around the world. And she is going to be coming on the show today to talk about something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while, and that is unicorns. And the funny thing about it is that, you know, so often when we talk about spiritual topics, and I blogged about this earlier today on my website, there'sarockforthat.com, and then also on the Attune magazine website, you'll see the blog post about today's show. And that is, you know, we can talk about all these kinds of different spiritual topics, and, you know, we can talk about God, we can talk about Jesus, we can talk about different belief systems. We can talk about fairies. We can talk about angels. We can talk about orbs. And I've had all these discussions with so many people, and it's kind of funny because there'll be a moment where I'll say, and unicorns. Depending, you know, 9 times out of 10, I will feel like they're looking at me like I'm from another planet. So that is why I feel we are so blessed today to have someone who really gets it about unicorns on, Diana Cooper. And I have to tell you, she has this wonderful book called The Wonder of Unicorns, and she also, this is so lovely, she has this card deck called the Unicorn Cards, and these are just so beautiful. The artwork, it's breathtaking, and the messages are just so touching. I mean, and really, there's something so special about the deck. And one thing I want to mention before I bring Diana on is that the really thing that makes the unicorn cards stand out to me is that the way the box is designed, it has this little easel, so you can slip the card in the front, the card you pull for the day, or maybe just a card you want to have out for a period of time to help you focus, especially if you're working with intention and the law of attraction. It's great to have that little card standing up in that little easel, and I've made it kind of one of the center points of a little altar that I built in my sacred space, and I can't recommend those enough. Well, anyways, I could just go on and on about what a fan I am of Diana Cooper, but I'll tell you what, let's bring her on instead. So without further ado, let's see if Diana is there. Hello, Diana,
Hello.
Are you there?
Yes, I am. Indeed, I am. Hello.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome to There's a Rock for That.
It's lovely to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking about unicorns.
I am so excited. I don't know if you heard me just go on and on. But
I did.
I'm so thrilled to have you on to discuss them. And I want to tell you, there were some things when I first got that, and this was years ago now that I got the unicorn cards. There was something in that book that, immediately it was like the first, real connection that made sense to me, and that was about the idea of unicorns being ascended horses. And I just, I grew up an only child on a farm, and my very, very best friend who got me through my childhood was my horse, and I've always felt him around me since then.
Right, so you've got a strong connection anyway. And it's so interesting that unicorns have had incarnations as horses, whereas angels have never had incarnations. So that automatically makes them different.
It makes them different, and yet, to me, it makes them more relatable too, in a sense.
Yes, and they both have amazing tasks, and they both help us enormously, because the unicorns work with the desires of our heart, and they start to fulfill the wishes that we put out. But the unicorns are totally pure. They're known as the purest of the pure, and they work with the desires of our souls. So if you have a pure desire from your soul, your unicorn will work with you. What I think is so fascinating is that when Atlantis declined, because of course everybody had a unicorn in Atlantis, when it declined, they could no longer stay with them because the energy was too low. So the unicorns withdrew. And then Earth started to have a higher light about 25 years ago, and the unicorns started to see people had lights on over their head, meaning that they wanted to help people other than themselves, and the unicorns started to come in. But since 2012, the cosmic moment, not only have the seventh dimensional unicorns come in, but there's been a flood of ninth dimensional ones coming in to help us. And that's truly awesome.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? What does it mean that the ninth dimensional?
Okay, well, we can connect two dimensions above us. So if you are a third dimensional person, you can connect into the fifth dimension, and then you can occasionally connect into the seventh dimension. That's the angelic realm. Now, more people are fifth dimensional, so that they can connect into the angelic realms in the seventh dimension, but they can also occasionally link into the ninth dimension. And so the unicorns are helping us with healing, with enlightenment, and in a million ways. But the very, very high-frequency ones will actually take us to Source to bring through a blessing for our soul mission. So they are very, very special, and you have to really center yourself and be still for them to touch you and work with you.
And that's the wonderful thing about the Wonder of Unicorns book that you wrote, is that you give so many wonderful exercises and meditations to help us to connect with our unicorns. And really, I feel in some ways that it's not just, that book isn't just about connecting to unicorns. It's really a great guide for self-healing, I think, in a large way too. Was that your intent, or did you expect that to be one of the results?
Well, I was completely open, because what happened was I was sitting down in the garden one day with my laptop on my knee, as I usually am, and I became aware of this presence behind me, slightly behind me. And I thought, now that's not an angel, that doesn't feel like an angel. And it felt pure white. And then I realized it was a unicorn. And that was the first time the unicorns connected with me. And then, of course, they started to download information and give me guidance about what they wanted me to write about. And so I didn't have a clear objective. I just gave what the unicorns gave me.
When that happens to you, do you ever kind of feel is there a different sense of urgency in a way, because it's such a blessing for them to choose you?
Well, it is, but the thing is, I'm a Virgo, I'm a workhorse, and so they know that I will spread their message and that I work hard. And so I've written a book for Spirit, at least one or two every year for the last 20 years. And so they come to me to spread their messages.
That's one of the things that I love, and for anyone listening, also make sure to check out Diana's YouTube channel, because you make these wonderful videos and you give out this great information, and you have just such a wonderful energy about you. And what I really like is that it never seems to be about you. You truly are, and you're like an earth angel. I feel like you are a messenger. Do you see yourself in that way?
No, I see myself as someone who brings through information from Spirit and spreads it on. And, of course, part of my mission is to stay as pure and clear as I can, so that I can send through the right messages from the angels. I don't see myself as special or different. I just see that that's my task, because this is such an extraordinary 20-year period that we're in, between 2012 and 2032. We have 20 years to move from the third dimension fully into the fifth dimension, for the new golden age to start, when we'll all be having crystalline bodies and our 12 strands of DNA will start to connect, and everybody will have their 12 fifth-dimensional chakras in place. And so we've really got a very short time to get the whole world moving into the new. And, of course, part of the mission of the unicorns coming back is to touch as many people as possible so that they can move forward into enlightenment and ascension very quickly.
And what is it that, if there was one thing that at least, everyone could do to help with that and to help themselves with that, what would the unicorns want us to do, to focus on?
Well, it's very interesting that one of the things that the unicorns will do for us is, if we ask them before we go to sleep at night to balance and align our 12 chakras and hold them in the fifth dimension while we sleep, they will do this for us. And I think that's an awesome thing to ask. So you can ask the angels to sing over you, and they will sing messages, they'll sing love, they'll sing healing, all sorts of things. The unicorns don't sing, but they will help you with that. And the other things the unicorns really help with, several actually, but one of the things is they help us open the 1,000 petals of our crown chakra. Now, each petal of your crown is connected, contains wisdom from your soul, but is also connected out to a star or a planet or a huge cosmic energy. And so the unicorns will help us to open these. In fact, I once had the most extraordinary experience when the angels and unicorns came in, and they literally opened all the petals of my crown chakra. And it was just one of those extraordinary moments. But the other thing... Sorry?
I just wanted to ask, what does that feel like? Like, is there a physical sensation when that happens?
Oh, my goodness. For me, I actually had a terrible headache afterwards. And really, that's not surprising because that was very sudden and that was very quick. And I think it happened sometime before the cosmic moment, about a year or so before, in order so that I could be ready to help other people have the same experience without going through such an in such an extreme way.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was amazing.
Oh, go ahead.
Although the unicorns obviously work with the crown, they also work very, very much with the third eye, because, of course, they have this spiraling horn of light which comes from their brow chakra. And what this horn of light is enlightenment. So it's the energy from their third eye reaching out. And they touch people and things with this horn of light. And so they give healings, they give blessings. And so you can see stars pouring out of their unicorn horns onto people and literally blessing them, which is wonderful.
What is the, because I had an interesting experience a couple nights ago, and I guess because I've had unicorns on the brain constantly for the last week or so, and I woke up from dreaming from sleep or something with, in the morning with the name Archimedes, and I thought, that's strange. Why would I'm not a big fan of math, so why would that come to me? And then I had been reading, going over actually your book, Wonder of Unicorns, again right before I fell asleep that night. And then I looked up Archimedes, and he'd written a book on the spiral. And I thought, is there any way that could be connected?
Right. Yes, I'm sure it could, because that's a wonderful symbol, the spiral. And it takes energy out into higher levels and higher frequencies, which is just what the unicorn does. And so I would think that you're very connected to that energy. It's your job as a radio show hostess. You take people and you spiral the energy out higher.
Oh, I love that. And that's, this leads me to that question of what are some signs that people can look for that unicorns are, trying to, communicate with them and connect to them?
Well, unicorns, like angels, leave little white feathers. So if you find a little white feather and you've been thinking about your unicorn, assume it's come from them, just as a little signal to say that they're there with you. And again, it's very similar to angels. The symbols are, if you go indoors and you've been thinking about unicorns, and there's a unicorn song on the radio, or somebody goes past with a unicorn on their T-shirt, it's always synchronized by them to make sure that you just notice and think, yes, they're around.
And do you think they're happy with the, because I feel in some ways, you talked about this special time that we're in right now, and I feel like so many of us, you see what, and you can feel that the vibration is raising, that there's this awareness that's spreading out there, but then you see the opposite as well, and it feels to me like, where are we at really on this progress that we need to make?
It's very difficult, isn't it? Because what we're seeing is the light getting lighter and the dark getting darker in some ways. And the only way we can move forward is to focus on the light. because light consumes darkness. Higher frequencies eat up and dissolve lower frequencies. So our task is to be aware that this lower stuff is happening in the world, but keep focused on the light so that we are automatically dissolving that darkness. Because so many wonderful light things are happening now that we can't help but be taken up with it. You know, these amazing portals opening all over the world. There are all sorts of activations going on. The full moon energies that have been coming in have been blasting people. And that's also very connected with the unicorns and Archangel Christiel. He's bringing the Christ light through, as are especially the ninth dimensional unicorns, bringing that Christ energy of unconditional love through and bathing us all in a way we've never been bathed before. And so it's no wonder that all the lower energies are oozing out of us and people are expressing them around the world. It's actually
almost like releasing them.
Yeah, that's right. And people are not sideways.
Yeah, and that's so funny because you definitely, I've noticed with all the, it seems, and maybe it's just the way, things strike you sometimes, but it seems to me that the moon has, it's like the last year or two, it just feels like everybody's reacting to the moon. Everybody's talking about the lunar energy. Everybody's talking about being affected by it. We've had blood moons and full moons and eclipses, and it seems intense.
Well, absolutely so. And it's because that's true. It is happening. The moon energy is stronger than it's ever been before. And it is affecting people. People are becoming more sensitive.
And is that something like, when you connect with the unicorns, do they ever talk about things to come in a sense of, wanting to, kind of, make people prepared, or in a sense? Like, do they ever ask you to let people know about all of these things in a way that has, a kind of a predictive quality, I guess, to it, in a way,
Well, no, they don't use me so much like that, though they do, with many, many people I know, do lots of predictions through them. But I guess my task is more to share my experiences and the experience of other people so that they can feel the extraordinary wonder of the unicorns and know what an amazing plan it is. When it was the eclipse, I went into my local forest. It was completely silent and semi-dark. There wasn't a soul about, so the trees felt very despondent. And I sent them a lot of light. And then I thought, okay, I'll stop sending light and healing to the trees, and I'll work on sending light and healing to the world. And actually, I opened my chakras and sent the light from it out into the world. And when I got to my stellar gateway, I had the most enormous blast of pure golden orange energy coming down from Metatron. And I thought, okay, something really big has happened. But that evening when I took the dog again for her later walk, the trees looked very different. And this time I wonder what energy those trees are giving out now. And a unicorn came and took me up above the trees. And I could see that there was this beautiful golden green light above the trees, and then they were shooting like fireworks, colored lights out into the sky, as if they had been bathed in that eclipse energy too, and had really.
Wow. Are you there? Oh, I can't. I don't know what happened here. Are you there, Diana? I can't hear her right now. Oh, hold on a second, folks. Let me see. I put her on hold and maybe bring her back on. I hope Blog Talk isn't. Hello, Diana, are you there? Oh, she got dropped. Okay, let's try. Let's try bringing her back here. Okay, well, we'll wait for her to call in again. I don't know what happened. Blog Talk. Oh, it was right. She was right in the middle of sharing the most extraordinary story. Let's see. Hold on, folks. We'll see real quick if we can bring her in. Oh, there she is. There she is. She's back. Diana, are you back? Hello? Diana, do we have you back? I don't know what's going on here. Hold on one second, everybody. Okay, Diana, are you back with us? I don't know what is happening with the switchboard here, but we lost you, and I see you back on the switchboard, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh my goodness. Oh, Blog Talk Radio. Okay, well, bear with us for a second, folks. We are going to, I'm going to go ahead and play a message from our sponsors, and I'll see if I can talk to Diana in the screening room here.
Schedule your reading with one of the psychics at Attune. psychicsattune.com. Have you always wanted to create your own tarot or oracle deck but thought you needed to be a graphic artist? Self-published decks are really hot right now, and I could show you how to do this. No Photoshop required. Contact me, Mary Nail, at marynail@attunemagazine.com.
www.there'sarockforthat.com. Visit the website where there's a stone for that, an idea for that, a story about that, and even a reading with solutions for that, because, well, we just happen to rock like that. Need to relax? Or raise your vibration? Want to know how gems, crystals, and rocks can enhance your life? Get a crystal consultation. For entertainment purposes only, crystal consultations do not in any way replace treatment by licensed healthcare professionals. Come explore the wonders of the Crystal Kingdom at www.there'sarockforthat.com.
Welcome to Attune Magazine Radio.
All right. Well, we are back. You are listening to There's a Rock for That. We've been talking with the amazing Diana Cooper, and hopefully she will be able to reconnect with us. I don't know what happened. I don't know. It kind of looked like Blog Talk Radio dropped the call there, and I hope that she's able to call back in. So in the meantime, let me tell you a little bit more about her amazing work with the unicorns and her book, The Wonder of Unicorns. What might be especially interesting to listeners of this show is that in her book, The Wonder of Unicorns, she has this great chapter on unicorns and crystals. And she says, I think I see she's back. Maybe she can tell us about it herself. Let's try this. Hello, Diana, are you there?
I am. Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you, angels. Thank you, unicorns. We got you back. I just wanted to talk. We talk so much on the show about crystals, and the stone people are a huge part of my life. And one of the things I love about your book, The Wonder of Unicorns, is that you have a chapter on unicorns and crystals, and so this connection between them started in Atlantis.
Oh yes, everything that really to do with what's happening now started in Atlantis. And, of course, the unicorns are very connected with selenite crystals. And that's also the connection with the causal chakra, which is Archangel Christiel's chakra. And he is very connected with the unicorns. In fact, it's through that chakra that we connect with the unicorns.
That you just blew my mind kind of, because I was, getting in the vibe for talking about unicorns today, and I made a little. I want to say it's kind of like a little grid where I used I chose 7 of your cards, from the unicorn cards, and I took, I have various unicorns, whether the sculptures, and even a unicorn toy. I've got a unicorn hat. You don't want to know. But in the center of it, I put this, and I did this without thinking. I put this selenite tower that I have that actually is kind of shaped like a horn in the center of it, and I didn't even really think about that. It just looks so perfect. So, especially selenite, and our crystal guest today that I'm going to talk about later is pearl, because
yes, of course, that would be very connected with unicorns.
So
how lovely.
I'll
tell you a little story about those selenite spiraling horns. I've got a 5-year-old granddaughter who is very tuned in, and I put my selenite horn to my third eye, and she just looked at it and said, "Granny, you don't need to do that. We've all got a horn like that already."
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
And I just
had to floor you.
Out of the mouths of babes. Yeah. They're so wonderfully tuned in, all these new children.
That's the thing that it blows my mind about kids, is how much, we, our job, seemingly, as parents and grandparents is to teach them, but really they teach us so much. And I think
they're teaching us all the time.
Yeah, and I just, I think it's wonderful when people are open to that and listening to that, because sometimes, we get too stuck in our grown-up mode to do that. But with the, selenite and pearl both have that, really lovely kind of, sparkly kind of look to it. And
it's that white translucent energy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about, that translucent kind of shiny, kind of white energy. I think is really kind of an interesting, is that an interesting way that we can also connect to them by working with the crystals that are special to them, is what I was kind of thinking, and those colors too.
Yes, I think that helps enormously, the unicorns, to make the connection to us, because all the time you're thinking about that crystal and connecting to the unicorn, you're making that pathway to them. I mean, remember, you've only got to think about a unicorn and one will come to you. If you dream about a unicorn, it's working with your soul. And so taking a crystal and thinking about a unicorn is making that pathway so much easier.
Wow. And see, I love that, because, so many listeners to the show, they're already working with crystals, and almost everybody has a piece of selenite. If they don't, I've told them they need to get one.
Well, I think it does help, because, as I say, it also helps to open the causal chakra, which is the one above the crown. And when that's fully open and fifth dimensional, then we connect automatically with the angels, with the masters, with the unicorns. You can obviously connect with spirit through your third eye, but you can, at the higher level, you can only connect with beings of the fifth dimension and above.
And it's interesting that you keep talking about like 12 chakras, and I wonder if, it seems for like a long period of time, if even people that aren't so into metaphysics or Eastern medicine or spirituality, they at least have heard of the 7 main chakras. And now I wonder if we're in a time now where people are kind of spreading out to the 12.
The thing about the 7 chakras is that they're third dimensional. So if people work with 7 chakras, they are holding themselves in the third dimension. And this is why I always talk about the 12, because it's so important that people recognize that and start to bring those in now. That means that they can be held in the 5th dimension.
That makes a lot of sense, because that's the thing I hear about from a lot of people is, they'll be aligning their chakras. They'll work with the 7 main chakras, and I always add in 2 more. I'll at least, like I did a show on, just how you can use crystals to align the 7, and I added 2 more so we could at least get up to 9.
Right. Well, I think it's really helpful if all of the 12 come in, because as you know, in Atlantis, in the golden era, everyone had 12 open, and it meant that their 12 strands of DNA were fully active. All their awesome talents and gifts and powers were held in those 5 chakras that closed down, and the 44 codons that they call junk DNA were held within those chakras, and so 44 is the vibration of golden Atlantis. As we bring those 5 back, so all our powers will come back. And the new golden age, starting in 2032, is based on what we had in golden Atlantis, but taken to a level higher. And, of course, the unicorns are very much helping us with that process. And so the extra 5 are the, underneath your feet, your Earth Star chakra, which is your foundation. And that's the foundation for your whole spiritual self, your new skyscraper energy. And the navel chakra and the sacral chakra were totally separate. And the navel chakra is bright, bright orange. And it's about making people feel welcome. It's also where they held their power of creativity, and so that they would hold a vision, and they would take that vision up to their soul star chakra, and then that started the process of manifesting physically. And this was one of the great powers that they had. But when that navel chakra is fully operational, then 5th dimensional communities will start everywhere on the planet. Until then, we won't have the right energy for it. And then above the head, there's the causal, which we've talked about, which is pure white, looked after by Archangel Christiel. Then the soul star, which is magenta, looked after by Archangel Mariel, and that is about bringing back our soul wisdom, all the wisdom that we have collected throughout a massive journey through all the universes. And then, of course, there's the stellar gateway, the great chalice looked after by Archangel Metatron, through which we bring source light.
Wow. That is so important. And, it's interesting. I did a show not that long ago on Atlantis. And, the thing that occurs to me talking to you today is that, I talked about all these different theories that people have of where it is, where they're searching for it, trying to find it. And I keep thinking that they might have a better chance of actually finding it or connecting to it by not searching the physical planet for it, but through meditation, through connecting with their guides, through looking within. Do you think that Atlantis will be found in a physical way?
One of the favorite books that I wrote was Discover Atlantis, and that's about the golden era of Atlantis, how it was set up, where it was, and the most fascinating thing is that Atlantis was a series of experiments, and they kept failing because the Intergalactic Council gave the people everything, and as soon as they gave them everything, they quarreled, they trashed it, they weren't interested. For the 5th experiment, they brought people in from all over the universes, and they had nothing. All they had was a knowledge about trees and plants, and they had to cooperate, work together in harmony, and keep connected to Source in order to maintain their energy. That's when the golden era arose. And so Atlantis lasted for 260,000 years, and 1,500 years of that was the golden era when they had awesome gifts, awesome talents, when they could do the most amazing things, when they used crystals in ways that we have no concept of now. And that was based on the fact that they had nothing and they had to work together and cooperate. And so they used their energy for the highest good of all. This lasted until one of the priests thought, why am I using my energy for everybody? Why don't I use it for myself? At that moment, a dark angel came in and the whole thing imploded very quickly.
Well, the ego has a way of doing that, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Huge scale.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because angels, of course, give people's healings. They heal relationships by, you can ask your angel to talk to the other person's angel and help you resolve misunderstandings and conflicts, and they'll help both the people involved. But the unicorn energy is very different because you've got to be willing to set aside your ego. You've got to set aside all desire to be right or wanting to hold on to your hurt, hold on to your anger. All of that's ego. Then, if you're prepared to let that go and you've got a real wish for the highest outcome in the relationship, the unicorns will bring it about.
That is so interesting that you said that, making the kind of difference, because I think that's a big part of it. Oh, I was talking to, I do a lot of readings for people, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I'll talk to somebody and I'll really feel that, the angels can help them with something, and, so many times I'll hear, well, I talk to my angels all the time. I don't think that they're hearing me. And, it's like we want, and we want in such a specific way. And oftentimes we want help, but we want help on our terms. And
absolutely.
I think that if it's, at least in my experience with angels, which I can't even describe. I can't describe it. I'm afraid no one will believe me. But it is about that desire for whatever, in my case it was for physical healing, really coming from a place where you feel like your soul is asking for it. And do you think in a way that, that's the biggest problem that people have when they want to connect to either their guides, sometimes even angels and unicorns as well, that, they say they want it, but it's only kind of in their head. It's kind of just the ego talking that I'd like this, or I'd want this, or they want something that maybe the reasons are.
Well, I think people do have expectations that, in fact, if somebody talks to an angel or a unicorn and they're sincere, we have to recognize that the angels and the unicorns have heard what we've said and that they are doing their very best to bring it about for the highest good of all. And so we have to wait while that process takes place sometimes, because the highest good of all might involve the angels and the unicorns doing whole sorts of adjustments with people at other levels.
And we're all connected, too.
What we want to what we now. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I think about that a lot. Now, you also talk in your book about unicorn healing, and it's interesting. That's something that I haven't, and I should have really, but I haven't really explored that idea. I haven't asked for that from the unicorns. I was in a really bad car wreck a couple years ago and had a lot of injuries, and I did get an incredible, miraculous, literally miraculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe not to the angels, right? But miraculous to me healing from Archangel Raphael. And I never thought of asking a unicorn.
Well, indeed, any being of the seventh dimension or above can heal. And the unicorns are very, very pure with their healing. And they love people that are pure. I'll tell you a story that happened when I was in South Africa. I heard this man stood up at the workshop and shared about his granddaughter had witnessed his people being beaten up, and they were absolutely pulverized, and this girl was distraught and could not get over it, and they tried absolutely everything. And it wasn't until I'd introduced them to the unicorns and they told the little girl about this, and they actually gave her my unicorn CD, and the child listened to it, and for the first time she slept through the night. And from then she listened to that CD every night, and she slept. But there's another one, when, again, this is somebody who came to one of my workshops where I introduced them to unicorns, and she said that she had been a complete addict. She was addicted to absolutely everything, and her life had spiraled into just chaos. But something had made her come to this workshop, and she said she sat there in the meditation to meet the unicorn, and when she did so, her unicorn wrapped her up like a baby and then pierced her heart with its horn. And she said she felt this incredible safety, and from that moment she got rid of all her addictions, drink, drugs, cigarettes, everything. She opened up to her spiritual gifts. She became clairvoyant. She became clairsentient. She was aware of what was going on. And she came back a year later to tell me this, and she was absolutely glowing with light, and you could just sense the unicorn presence around her. And she just received that total healing from a unicorn.
Wow. So it can happen in just one fell swoop like that, instead of 12 steps with the unicorns.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And it had to be that total faith and trust, and whatever, the energy just came into her. She must have been ready.
So in a way, there's the word surrender comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we do have to surrender to spirit and allow the very highest good to come in. Whatever is happening, we always have to surrender.
How do you see what's ahead of us? You said we have this short period of time, 20 years or so before, things really change in a beautiful and wonderful way. What's your vision of that?
I've written several books about this. There's chaos and confusion as the economic systems break down. The banks, for example, they're all operating on the old paradigm, and the old paradigm is greed, self-serving, all of that sort of thing. And the new paradigm coming in is about cooperation, working for the highest good, helping each other, and not being focused on money, being focused on spirit. And so, of course, anything that belongs to the old paradigm has to be cleared away. And this is already causing chaos in the world, but it's going to get much worse. People who are focused on having a big house, having a big car, having a job that earns them a lot of money are going to find it very tough. People who are much more spiritually inclined will find it a good experience. They will be able to focus much more on their spiritual lives. And then people will start helping each other. Family feelings will come in. There will be neighborhoods, communities again. And people will start to work together, literally, for the highest good, just like they did in Atlantis. And I see this as a period of turmoil, followed, and then, of course, we have a lot of cleansing on the planet yet to do. and where people will be helping each other through that, which is why that particular way of cleansing has been chosen by the Intergalactic Council, so that it offers people an opportunity to help each other. And then when that's done, then we will have a quieter period while we start to bring in the new and the higher, and bring in more understanding of animals, more understanding of insects, what's going on in the planet. And throughout all of this, more and more high-frequency energy is coming in to touch people. My latest book, An Archangel Guide to Ascension, is about the new energies that have been coming in since 2012. And it's phenomenal. Everything is coming in at a higher frequency. And it's no wonder some people are finding it difficult. But
that makes a lot of sense.
The opportunity to ascend very quickly and to help others is there.
And that's something that, I think that is very, I think it's very helpful for people to remember that the opportunity is there, that it's not just a dream in a way, because I think sometimes we take it, in the sense of like, well, that's a lovely dream. And no, it's real. It really is real.
Absolutely it is. We're moving forward into an age that will be absolutely beautiful and people will be happy to live. But, of course, it takes time to make the adjustments. And people that are incarnating now, or like me, who've been here for some time, we came in specifically to help in this 20-year period. So people like you've come in for this time. And the new kids coming in now who are already programmed so that they can work with the new technologies coming in, they will take us all on to a next step higher.
It makes perfect sense to me, and I think a lot of people feel that. A lot of people, I think a lot of us feel that we're here for a reason, and we're supposed to be here now. We may not be able to define that exactly.
May not be very pleased with that decision, but no, that's why we're here. And it's very interesting in places like America, where there is a lot of karma. And, of course, when I was tuning into it, I thought, what on earth is going to happen in America? And here is the fantastic thing. So many parts of America have grace. In other words, energies have been placed under the land already to help bring about love, to help bring through new energies through, and that will be dissolving that karma so that people can then move into the new much more easily than we expect. And I think you can feel that in some places, like New Mexico. To me, parts of New Mexico really feel like that. Absolutely. Well, of course, you've also got these very high-frequency places like Sedona and Mount Shasta, which the crystals that form the pyramid from Atlantis, 2 of them were placed over those particular power points to enable them to stay extremely pure and clear and download information into the land there. Well, I believe that for sure, especially Mount Shasta. Something different about that place. It's just so different. but it's very, very pure and clear. It's, of course, the seat of Archangel Gabriel, so his energy is very influential there. But beings from the Pleiades, the animals from the Pleiades come down through there, bringing their healing as well. And so it is one of those just simply awesome places. And Saint-Germain is very present there, too. It's interesting that we talked about the connection, with angels and unicorns, but what about with the ascended masters? Are there particular ascended masters that are connected to unicorns, like St. Francis maybe, or... Well, the one that's particularly ascended is connected to unicorns is Mother Mary. And she's the great master that gave birth to Jesus. She was Isis. She was Mara in Lemuria, and she always had a unicorn with her. and is very, very connected to that energy. It's part of the purity that she brings in. But, of course, St. Francis is another one, because he was so connected with horses and all animals.
And that's another question that I had too. You know, you have this wonderful section in your. You know, I'm in love with this book, but there was this chapter that you did about unicorns and the Bible that I thought was really fascinating, because I think the unicorn, I might be wrong here, was the first animal named in the Garden of Eden.
Is that right? Well, I didn't know.
I believe so, by Adam. And you talk about the connection between unicorn, and you really did this really thorough analysis of the different references in the Bible to unicorns, connecting it with Christ consciousness, and talking about all of these. You did your own translations, I believe, as well from the Hebrew. It's amazing. Like, what does this woman not do? She can translate.
No.
Do you?
I may have done. I don't remember. It was rather a long time ago.
Do you think that there? You know, because we have we have an interesting planet that we're on, where we have a lot of different belief systems, and a lot of the different variations of specific belief systems are coming from a lot of the same sources, you know, in different areas of the world. And what I find interesting is that it seems to me to point to a time when unicorns were walking the earth with us. And that's something that I think a lot of people wonder about. You know, they think, okay, well, they're just beings of light, or they're just, you know, all this stuff is folklore and mythology. When you go back through, like maybe, you know, back to, you know, some of the early artwork and depictions of unicorns and mythology around them, even though there's mythology about unicorns from all over the world. What's your feeling on this? I mean, it's in the Bible. The reference there that comes from a very old source. We have all these references, you know, in you know, medieval art and writings and stuff to unicorns. There was even, you know, a trade for a while, and people, you know, selling, I guess, ostensibly fake unicorn horn because of its healing property. Were they ever walking around with us? Well, not with us, because we were chasing them, but you know, we talk about the ascended aspect of them. Were they here?
When a unicorn is a horse, and of course, it's a horse becomes more and more white as it purifies. When it becomes a totally pure white horse, then it ascends. It ascends into the seventh dimension, and it becomes a unicorn. And so people, I know somebody who actually watched her pure white horse pass over and turn into a pure light of a unicorn. And so they were always with the people of Atlantis in the golden era, and they could see them, but they were not physical any longer, because they had passed over into a higher frequency. But they had angels around them all the time, just as we do. It's just that they could see them and they were aware of them, but they couldn't. They weren't physical. They're etheric.
Okay, and I think
everybody had a unicorn in Atlantis that was with them, like an angel is now.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's so interesting about the becoming more and more white, because that speaks to like past lives in a way.
It does.
For horses,
all animals have past lives just as we do, and most of us have been with our animals many, many times. And all animals that are pure white, being born now, carry the Christ light. And so more and more pure white animals are being reported now, not albinos, but pure white animals coming in. And the interesting thing is that up to now, if pure white animals have been born, it's nearly always been reported that the other animals kill them. But this no longer seems to be happening. Because the consciousness of the animals is raised too.
And that's something, because I think of like the white buffalo among Native American beliefs, and a lot of the white bulls and other belief systems. It's very, very interesting how there has been, it seems, a recognition of the sacred aspect of white animals. You know, maybe we didn't really understand what it was all about, but I think on some level we almost recognize it.
I think that people are getting more and more intuitive about knowing these things, and now this huge knowing is coming in. And people will see a pure white animal and their heart will leap as they know that that's carrying unconditional love energy.
And that makes total sense to me.
Bring the Christ light into the planet at the moment. Just as there was in the time of Jesus. Jesus was born in Bethlehem because Archangel Christiel, who carries the Christ light, his retreat is over Bethlehem. And so they decided to bring this master in, who was going to bring the Christ light energy in, again, into that place where it was already represented. But now the Christ energy is coming in all over the planet in a million different ways, with things like animals, white animals being born, with portals opening, with the moon pouring the Christ light in. It's like it's never been before. We're having to open our hearts and receive it.
I was going to say, do you think that, all of that energy coming in is in turn helping people to open up? I feel like we're, humanity's almost being like, it's being pushed right in our face by the universe, with all these things going on. And even if, sometimes, I think we worry too much about, that this other person isn't, getting as advanced as they should. but I feel that we're all being worked on in a sense, in a very good way to help us, even if we aren't on the same track or as far advanced supposedly as another person is. And is that something where you just talked about Christ coming in at that particular place in that particular time, and I think sometimes we look at things and think like, well, shouldn't one of these masters show up now? Don't we need one of them now? And
yes,
and
in
a way,
being done in a different way now, isn't it? It's being done through coming in all sorts of different ways, and even things like the unicorns appearing, carrying the Christ light, is touching everybody on the planet, or giving everybody that opportunity.
So often when people talk about angels or even spirit guides or unicorns or fairies, they talk about, well, I want to know its name. How do I find out its name? How do I, does it have a name? Do they all have names? What's your feeling about unicorns?
Yes, of course they all have names, because a name is a vibration, and it's the vibration that differentiates you and enables people to call you and connect with you. And I think it's really good that people want to know the name of their fairies or their unicorns, because it means they're wanting to make a connection with them. They're wanting to personalize that connection, which is lovely.
And before you go, I wanted to ask you if you could just tell us, maybe one little thing that we could do that would really be something that we could, maybe as an exercise to connect with our unicorns.
Well, I would say that before you go to sleep at night, just say, I am here. Please connect with me and let me feel your energy through the night. And then in the morning, you will have that energy come into you and through you. And it will automatically make you start to connect more to the unicorns.
That's wonderful. And that's easy. We can all do that.
It's very, very simple. Yeah, absolutely. Here's another very simple thing I do. When I walk out every day, I pick up a pebble and I ask the unicorns, I hold it in my hand and I just ask the unicorns to bless it and to fill it with their love and their healing and all the higher energies that they carry. And then when I've walked through the woods, I just place it somewhere by somebody's gate or by a school so that the energy radiates out.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a lovely
Again,
thing
very
to
easy
do.
thing to do. Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's not so hard. It's not a complicated ritual, everybody. we can all easily connect with our unicorns. Diana, what do we have to look forward next from you? What are you working on? Any particular books or any more CDs right now?
I've just got a book out called The Archangel Guide to Ascension. I've got a unicorn game coming out in September.
Oh, boy.
Yes, that's interesting. And, yes, I'm working on another book for next year. It's about archangel grids. And I'm trying to get my children's books into television at the moment. So that's my current passion.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, it
and
would be very good.
Will that be television in the UK?
I don't know.
Or on cable?
My vision is for it to go everywhere and help children to understand about the unicorns and the fairies and the elementals and the dragons and how to help each other and heal the world in a fun, light way.
Oh, that's wonderful. That would be so, so wonderful to have a show like that on television.
Wouldn't it?
Where we can all access it and so many more people can become aware of it. And I want everybody to know, to see more of Diana's work, make sure you go to dianacooper.com, and you can even draw a card on there, I think, as well.
Oh, you can. You can draw all sorts of different cards on there.
I love your orb cards, too. We didn't even talk about that. And that's one
lovely
thing that you have unicorns and orbs. And that's one thing nobody ever thinks about, I don't think.
Okay, I've got ascension cards. There's a whole pile of different cards.
You have so much great stuff. Yeah, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your time with us and this wonderful, space we've created on the airways for everyone to tune into and to help them learn how to tune into their unicorns. And this will be an archive on Blog Talk Radio as well as on there'stherockforthat.com too, if anybody wants to go back and listen to some of the great hints that Diana gave us today and exercises for connecting to our unicorns. So much great information, and it's so generous with your time. I just want to, brightest blessings to you, Diana, and thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wonderful.
Bye-bye then.
All right. Bye-bye. You take care and have a blessed week.
And
all right. Well, that was wonderful. Wasn't that amazing? And again, everybody, this will be an archive. If you tuned in a little bit late or you missed anything, I know a lot of people are listening in on their phone today. We've got a whole big list of listeners, which is really cool, and people in the chat room. There's therockforthat.com. This will be put in the radio archive later today, so you can go back and hear some of what maybe you might have missed from Diana Cooper. And again, that website is the www.dianacooper.com to check out all of the wonderful things that she has on there. And don't forget to listen to her YouTube channel as well. She gives out these wonderful messages and has a lot of great videos with all kinds of great information on ascension, on angels, and on unicorns as well, of course, and on orbs. And, oh, my goodness, the list goes on and on. Okay, well, I am going to take a quick break here to listen again to a word from our network, Attune Magazine Radio Network, and then when we come back, we will talk about this week's crystal guest, a stone connected to unicorns, and that is pearl. So hold on, everybody. We will be right back.
Schedule your reading with one of the psychics at Attune. psychics@attune.com. Have you always wanted to create your own tarot or oracle deck but thought you needed to be a graphic artist? Self-published decks are really hot right now, and I could show you how to do this. No Photoshop required. Contact me, Mary Nail, at marynail@attunemagazine.com.
www.there'sarockforthat.com. Visit the website where there's a stone for that, an idea for that, a story about that, and even a reading with solutions for that because, well, we just happen to rock like that. Need to relax? Or raise your vibration? Want to know how gems, crystals, and rocks can enhance your life? Get a crystal consultation. For entertainment purposes only, crystal consultations do not in any way replace treatment by licensed healthcare professionals. Come explore the wonders of the Crystal Kingdom at www.there'sarockforthat.com.
Welcome to Attune Magazine Radio.
All right, we are back, and you are listening to There's a Rock for That on the Attune Magazine Radio Network. And now we're going to talk about our crystal guest for today's show, and that is Pearl. But earlier in the show about how pearl is connected to unicorns. It has that white translucent kind of color energy to it, as well as, you do see pearls in other varieties of colors too. They're more rare, but they also have that translucency as well. And, so what is a pearl? Well, one thing that I think is so wonderful about them is that, they're kind of one of the stones that I think, we see all the time. I think a lot of people that aren't even into stones have a connection to pearl. And whether that is, a little pearl necklace or a little pearl on a, piece of jewelry. Sometimes they're put on little sculptures as well. You'll see like a little pearl set in something, and there's pearl earrings, or all kinds of things. And they're also something that they're one of the oldest stones that has been valued in that way, as being, great for jewelry and as being, having a sign of value to them. When we talk about pearl, physically, what is it? I think the easiest way to describe it is that, pearl is basically a response of a mollusk, a sea creature that we also think of as oysters. There's all different types of mollusks, but it's the response of the mollusk to something that's like an irritating foreign material within its shell. So what happens is maybe they get a piece of grit, a piece of dirt in there, and they start secreting what actually are mineral deposits around whatever that little irritating piece of grit is. And they do this because, if you've ever, I hate to say, but if you've ever eaten an oyster, you can see how soft and squishy it is. So, their tissue is very delicate. So they're very sensitive to like a little piece of dirt getting in there. It's just like if you would get like a fleck in your eye. And you know how your eye starts to water and you secrete tears and stuff because your eye is like trying to protect itself because it's very delicate. What our eyes are made of, it's soft, squishy eye material. That's kind of gross, right? Anyways, back to pearls. And basically, so they secrete this, and what's really coming out, there's minerals in the secretion. So they're secreting these mineral deposits around the little offending particle, and they're doing this to protect their delicate tissues. And if it includes an outer layer which contains what they call nacre in it, Nacre, the pearl will exhibit the luster which is so highly valued, and that's a beautiful, shiny, translucent quality to it. So saltwater pearls are generally found in an oyster that is known as the pinctada, and freshwater pearls are found in mussels, and many other mollusks also produce that protective secretion, but very few of them display the iridescence associated with the gem quality pearls that we're familiar with in jewelry. It's really interesting because that spot on a pearl, if you look at a pearl and you see that spot of reflected light, they call it the pearl's orient, and the exterior will show a color known as the overtone. So you'll have that kind of spot of light that is kind of reflecting and, very bright and shiny, and that's called the orient, and then the other part is called the overtone. And the overtone can be seen in reflected light as kind of a luster coming from the surface of the pearl. And, pearls we're used to them being white, they can be black, they can, have different colors, including red, purple, violet, blue, green, and yellow. And it's really kind of interesting because, the white pearls that we get actually show different shades, like, kind of a cream shade or a light rose color or what they call cream rose. They call those the fancy colors. And those fancies, can also show additional colors in them, like the cream, the rose, the blue, or even green overtones. So it's sort of like when you look into a really beautiful pearl, you can spend a lot of time just gazing at it and studying it and noticing all the different colors to it. And in a large way, I really feel like pearl is a great stone, all of these different qualities to it, what it takes to form the pearl, how they are formed, why they are formed, what the final pearl ends up looking like, I think in a lot of ways really points to the metaphysical qualities of pearl as well, because they've been associated with purity for one thing, and also been called the stone of sincerity, and they've also been talked about in such a way as that they can also represent faith, and they can represent personal integrity or enhancing personal integrity and helping people to focus their attention. And I think that really connects to how they're formed. The little mollusk is like so focused on keeping its inner self pure, and that's why a pearl is the end result of that. So I think that's something to kind of keep in mind with pearl. There's some other really beautiful things. I feel like pearl is one of the things that we see passed from generation to generation. I know that's especially true in my family. It was so funny. I have this great story. Well, actually, it's a sad story. But when my when my mother was getting ill, and before she passed away, she gave me my great grandmother's pearls, and there was a lot of talk in the family. It's like, and it was this really, really long, like crazy long strand of pearls, And she's like, I want you to have these. I want you to take care of them. Whatever you do, make sure that you can pass them on to yours. And so I think, here we go through, 3 generations already, from my great-grandmother to my grandmother to my mother. These pearls then come to me, and I just thought, we're not royalty. It's insane that for this really, really long strand of these really good sized pearls to be in this family. Like, logically, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, I appreciated them, and I thought, well, that's just interesting. But they were so ridiculously long, and so I couldn't help myself. I went and had them, went and checked them out. I looked online of how you can, test them or whatever. And so it turns out that they were actually very, very good, and, valuable in their own way, costume jewelry pearls, right? But I have to say, once I found out that they weren't real, I was really bummed out that I had decided to explore that, because they had meant so much to every generation of women in my family up to that point. They were valued, and by being given from one woman to the next woman in the chain, I think that it was almost like some sort of coming of age thing. I had to pull the wool off of everything. But the good news is I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell anybody that they weren't real, because the moment that I found out they weren't, I wasn't disappointed because they weren't real. I was disappointed that I didn't believe in them, in a sense. And I lost that really kind of pure kind of faith that everyone had in them. So to me, Pearl kind of taught me a lesson in that way. And I, other than relaying the anecdote, I don't really know how to put that lesson exactly into words. I can say that it really made me, kind of think about, my need to prove things one way or the other, And the lesson that I learned is that, it's not so much the facts and figures and statistics and stuff that proves anything. I think, more than anything else, is truly our faith that proves things to us. So that was my lesson with Pearl. Pearl, because it has been, such an honored stone, I guess we could call it. We could think of it as a stone. It ends up being a stone. It doesn't really have that crystalline structure, so to call it a crystal isn't necessarily accurate, but because it has such a very, very long history, the folklore is so rich and fascinating. Pearls were, throughout history, they maintained their status as a prized gem, and that was, the Egyptians, the Persians, the Hebrews, the Hindus all prized the pearl, and they all wrote a lot about the value that they found in it and a lot of stories around it, too. If we look at Rome, it was probably the most revered by the Romans and a favorite of both men and women. And they looked at it as being very mysterious in origin, and readily available, because they're right there on the sea in Rome, in Italy at least. The pearls were displayed by Romans in a variety of ways. Ladies' gowns, headwear, men's robes, and even pieces of furniture would be covered in their entirety to create an obvious display of wealth, as much as they could show it. That was one way to do it, was to put pearls all over everything. The Emperor Caligula, we all remember him, is said to have worn slippers made out of pearls. And it was said that noble ladies wore pearls to bed so that they would be reminded of their wealth when they awoke. So I love this, some of the stories around this is kind of amazing. The pearl was believed by them, by the Romans, to be the favorite jewel of Venus and was thought to be necessary for love potions. So what they would do is they would dissolve it in acid, and then they would add it to wine and, present it to the person that they wanted to fall in love with them. And Romans put pearls all over their, in their hair and everything, as a way to ensure that, they would be successful in love as well. And our favorite historian, Pliny the Elder, is the one who wrote about the legend of the King of Pearls. And, this king was distinguished by his size, his age, and ability to protect his spherical subjects, those around him. The king was protected by a bodyguard of sharks in his kingdom of rocky shoals. And if a diver should happen to capture a pearl, the king would kill any future divers who invaded the same location. Pliny concluded the story by lamenting that despite the noble's efforts, his charges continued to be sacrificed to adorn ladies' ears. So that's an interesting idea of having the king of pearls there in the sea, using sharks to protect the pearls from any divers, and yet clearly not succeeding in that effort as much as the Romans ended up putting pearls all over their furniture and sleeping with them. And Pliny also talked about of how the contemporary belief of how pearls were formed, and he relates a story. He calls it the dews of heaven would fall into the sea and be captured by oysters, and he went on to explain about the quality varying between pearls, and his way of explaining it, if the dew was pure, a lustrous pearl resulted. If the dew wasn't pure, the product would be kind of dull looking. So it's kind of interesting that even though they didn't necessarily, have the idea of exactly what the physical process was for the mollusk or why the mollusk would have a pearl inside, they were pretty close in, their way of looking at it, and also of noticing the differences between the different qualities of pearls too, and then giving, a really, really interesting reason for that. And this is a stone that so many different people have been amazed by and fascinated with. Everybody from Pliny the Elder, from the Romans. We also have soldiers in the Middle Ages returning from the Crusades. They actually were responsible for spreading an appreciation of pearls throughout Europe. In fact, the 13th century writer Alfonso X, or Alfonso X, added medicinal attributes to the value of pearls, and said that pearls were the most excellent when it came to providing great help in palpitations of the heart, and to help those who were sad or timid, and helped in every sickness which was caused by what they called melancholia, because it purified the blood, cleared the blood, and removed all impurities. And it's really interesting when you look at what we consider nowadays to be, some of the, healing aspects of pearl. It's not too different from what, they thought way back then. And, also, it's a short disclaimer here. When I talk about the, the physical healing attributes of a particular stone, please keep in mind that, I'm saying use these as a complement to the treatment that you're already getting, and don't use crystals, gems, rocks, or stones in place of proper diagnosis or the proper care by a licensed medical professional. Okay, my little disclaimer there. That being said, pearls have been used in the treatment of digestive disorders and to relieve, things like bloating, to treat soft organs of the body, and to help to ease childbirth, and have even been thought to be helpful when it came to increasing fertility. So it's kind of interesting that it's not that far off with the idea of it cleansing and removing impurities as well. And there is this wonderful, let me see if I can find this. I wrote this down somewhere, here it is. There is this very interesting kind of take that Justin Moikihar Asar, who I always kind of murder his name when I try to pronounce it on this show, and I have a few times because I love his liquid crystal oracle deck. And I told you several times the guidebook is just extensive and amazing. And he does, Pearl is one of the ones included in there. And, what he says about Pearl, first of all, I wanted to share this affirmation that I think is beautiful. I am the purity of the ocean, the endless sea of stars, and breath of the lotus. I am the purity of the ocean, the endless sea of stars, and breath of the lotus. So I thought that, one, that is a beautiful affirmation to have for Pearl. And also, he does associate it with purity, like so many others do. And he says some really interesting things about Pearl. His take on Pearl is that it's the ruling stone for the first third of a woman's life, the little girl phase, where you're innocent and pure. Again, he makes that connection between purity and Pearl, and innocence and pure and Pearl as well. But also saying that, after that time is up, that first third of a woman's life, then the responsibility moves on to moonstone, I guess, for the second third. And then lastly, it takes on the role of silver. And, it's sort of like Maiden Mother Crone when you think of how he kind of connects that and that being the maiden phase. And, he says Pearl can, his belief is that Pearl can increase intuition and can be worked with to learn the spiritual basis of sexuality and sacred union. So in that way, he is making that connection between Pearl and fertility, which I thought was so interesting because, sometimes when we talk about fertility, we don't necessarily think of sacred union in connection to it. Sometimes we're thinking of more, on very, very materialistic, like the sperm count and, what the time is and all of that. So I thought that, that's an interesting way to look at it. And, he also thinks that Pearl is a fantastic stone for men and women who view relationships as an attachment, and because of viewing them that way, they lack commitment. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. And he talks about, it being, a balancer of hormones, how that it can be helpful in regulating a woman's cycle, and that it brings you into alignment with moon phases. And he talks about different connections to Pearl that I thought were really kind of fascinating. He feels that the Pearl actually, there's a connection with Pearl, and we talked about the connection between Pearl and unicorns earlier, but he also says it's a link stone for whales and dolphins, which kind of makes sense since it comes from water, or a body of water. Also with Kuan Yin, the Ascended Master, and with the goddess Artemis, and with Archangel Uriel, and with the galactic identity Sirius. So he sees all of those different connections with Pearl, which I thought was really, really kind of fascinating. And not only that, he also connects it with the essential oil aniseed, and also with the animal totem white cockatoo. So if you have an affinity for white cockatoo, or you work with the oil aniseed, Pearl might be something to add to those things to kind of strengthen those pathways in a sense. Anyways, so that is that and so much more, right? Because with Pearl, it's really a thing where it just doesn't. The fascination doesn't end. I don't think that that they're ever going to go out of style. There's that thing about how, pearls never go out of style. And even, these days, so often, I'm delighted when I go somewhere and maybe you go to a fancy restaurant or you go to an event or something and you see somebody wearing that classic, either like little pearl necklace or little pearl earring, and I just think like, wow, it's a wonderful tradition in that sense. It's a wonderful connection that I feel like it, like I said in my family, that fascination with them goes back generations, and I feel like, it's something that's just never going to quite end, and I think that that's a wonderful thing. We talk so often about, things going in and out of fashion, and that happens with the mineral kingdom too. It doesn't happen in the mineral kingdom as much as it happens with humans and their interests in particular stones. We have this kind of thing that happens in the crystal community where it's like big, there'll be like the latest stone or the newest stone, and a lot of times, these are stones that have been trademarked, and all of a sudden they come into vogue, and everybody has to have that particular stone. How could they have lived without it? And, to me, pearl is one of those ones that we should feel that way about, rather than rushing out to get something that we just heard about. So, anyways, no big soapbox moment on today's show, but I just want to throw that out there that I think it's a wonderful stone to have in our lives, and bring that wonderful energy into our space as well. So I want to thank you all. That's the show for today. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in today, and make sure that you tune in next week, next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, here on Blog Talk Radio and the Attune Magazine Radio Network. Be sure to check out there'sArockforthat.com, this show and all our previous shows. Can you believe it's been over a year's worth of shows already? Are all in the radio archive on the right side of the page, there on the front page of there'sArockforthat.com. And I hope to see you all next week, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, here on the Attune Magazine Radio Network. Brightest blessings to you all during the rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.